But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Kamala Harris was a desperate last-minute decision. What are we going to do? Joe Biden's literally falling apart. Like, you know, like when you pull, like in a movie, when they pull a body out of a coffin and it's sort of like, oh no, it's like bits are coming off of it. Like, you know, they had to make a last-minute decision. Kamala Harris is the only option. Well, now some are even saying, oh, we might have been better off with Joe Biden. I don't think there's any fair, just way that Kamala Harris can win this election. Why? Because she doesn't seem like, behave like, talk like, act like a president of the United States of America. And even the Democrat Party don't believe in it. That's why you've got the spectacle of, their harbingers on the news. People like Mika there going like just with only recourse to mad emotion, because rationally and sensibly, Kamala Harris is unelectable. But don't take my word for it. Let's have a look at Kamala Harris in the somewhat friendly environment of CNN failing to be presidential, to the point where even Anderson Cooper has been confronted by die-hard Democrat ideologues as to why he was willing to ask difficult questions. Let's have a look at some of Kamala's moments and question for ourselves and one another. What on earth is going on with this the attempt to place this cipher in a position of such extraordinary power?
What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe.
Now, a confident person is always okay with the weakness question. You're able to say stuff like, I don't know, man, sometimes I don't listen, or sometimes I'm impulsive. Sometimes I put myself first when I should be thinking of others. Other times I think I'm right and I forget to, you know, there's loads of, like, if you ask, like, me, or I don't know, think of people you know, think of yourself. What are your weaknesses? You know what your weaknesses are. Now, this is a person that's afraid to open their mouth unless they're saying something they've been coached into saying, because there's been too many blunders. A person that can't even recollect correctly whether or not they worked at McDonald's. Like, they didn't work at McDonald's, by the way. I'd done a few shifts at Pizza Hut. It went badly. We were both happy when that relationship ended. What I'm saying is if you can't even answer the question, what are your weaknesses, with some degree of authenticity, is because you're not ready for public life. You're not ready for the extraordinary power of the President of the United States when they're getting ready to start a new currency, they're getting ready to not concede the war in Ukraine, Iran are rising up. There's a lot of stuff going on that's going to require brinkmanship, diligence, expertise, assiduousness, brilliance. I can't imagine how that could be conjured up out of this wonkish, bureaucratic, hollowed out, humanitarian, pragmatic, globalist, corporatist movement whose the figures at the forefront can't have any real power. In the same way that Biden, who's still the president, by the way, crazily, can't have any real power. It must be other people that are running things, right?
Well, I am certainly not perfect. So let's start there. And
say something about that sizzling bacon when Joe Biden called up and I was with my nephews, Huey, Louie, and Dewey, and I was cooking bacon. Will that be enough? I was in DuckTales. My three nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, was cooking up bacon. Does that make me sound like a human? Or does it make me sound like a duck?
I think that
What are your weaknesses? Here's one. You're not very good at being spontaneous. You're not good at answering questions. You're not very good at being a border czar. I've got examples.
Perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me.
My weakness would have to be the way that I value having a team of really smart people around me. You know, that well-known weakness of having a really smart team of people around me. Now, look, anyway, right, listen, I'll go level with you now. I'm starting to feel my own compassion kicking in. Kamala Harris is a human being like you or me and shouldn't be in that position. That's a person that's not ready for that kind of... She's not ready for the pressure of being asked what your weakness is in a town hall in a friendly environment. How are you going to cope when it's like Vladimir Putin? Like, what if what you're saying about Putin is true? That he is a monster? He's not going to go like, what are your weaknesses? He's like, you motherfucker, you better get out of Ukraine now, or it is nuclear. I will rain down. Well, I'd have to say my weakness is a team of people.
Smart people around me who bring to...
My mother was middle class. Have I mentioned that? Yeah, well, if you mention this, we got an arsenal of nuclear weapons lined up on the border of Ukraine. We got battleships coming into Cuba right now. Well, yeah, I used to mow the lawn.
My decision-making process, different perspectives. My team will tell you I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it.
I say my weaknesses, I say kick the tire on that. I use automobile analogies in my communication. If there's a weakness I've got, she's not even saying that as a weakness, is she? She's actually saying it's a strength. She's so weak that she cannot even address fallibility. We're all weak. We are weak. I'm weak. I'm broken. I find life difficult. I struggle, man. If I was on my own, I don't think I'd last an hour. If you drop me off at the side of the road, I am not Bear Grylls. Like, I struggle in hotels, let alone in the wilderness. I need help every day. Help me. How do I get here? What do I do? Ah! And I'm not running for the United States, President of the United States. Thank God. I'm struggling to be the president of my own life.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
Yes, I've been selfish. I put myself first too much. I was an idiot. I was a fool. I believed in this culture. I believed the culture could heal me. I believed the culture could fill me up and make me better. It took me too long to come to God, but I know God has a plan. Oh man, I've made mistakes. I didn't run that right, but I'm doing it as Kamala Harris. I'm doing it as me. I'm not running for president. I keep putting myself in the position. I'm not even running for mayor of London. I'm not running for any political office. Not yet, baby. Not unless it's the Lord's holy will. But like, if I was Kamala Harris, what could she say? It's like, maybe, you know, when I was going out with that Willie Harris guy, like, wasn't he married? Wasn't he? She was going to have a married guy. I shouldn't have had an affair with a married guy. Maybe that. Like, she could say that. That's a mistake, isn't it? I don't know. Was he married? That might be wrong. I guess what? Because I know I'm fallen, I can make mistakes.
I mean, I've made many mistakes. And they range from, you know, if you've ever parented a child, you know you make lots of mistakes.
Yeah, but you're not a parent, are you? So you can't even use that cliche. What are you talking about? DuckTales again? When I was making the bacon for Huey, Dewey and Louie that day when Joe Biden called me to say I'm not running, I kicked the tires on that. I kicked them so hard that it was to be unburdened by what might have been. I might have been unburdened by what might have been. Let's be honest, most K-Cup pods are serving you mouldy, pesticide-laden rubbish. Chains like Dunkin', they're stinking the place out with their stale coffee and expecting you to say cheers. 1775 Coffee makes sure you don't have to drink a chemical soup when you want a caffeine lift. 1775 Coffee steps in to slap the mediocrity right out of the competition. Their K-Cup pods are filled with single origin, high-altitude beans, hand-picked by people who know what flavour actually is. It's coffee that will slap your brain fast awake. Faster, in fact, than a government scandal. Who doesn't need an injection of this new caffeine inflection? Kamala Biden? Get this stuff down here. You've got a choice of medium roast, dark roast and mushroom blend. Yeah, actual mushrooms like lion's mane and reishi to boost your brain power as well as giving you an immediate lift. Because let's be honest, if your coffee isn't strong enough to overthrow a small government, what's the point? This coffee is for people who don't want a participation trophy. This is coffee for winners. Go to 1775coffee.com, grab your 24-pack and tell Corporate Coffee to take a hike. That's go to 1775coffee.com, grab your 24-pack and tell Corporate Coffee to take a hike. Caffeine that will help you overthrow the powerful.
Too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that...
And she had the questions in advance. They had the questions in advance. Right, listen, you're going to have to answer the question on mistakes. Say these things because it'll make you look like you know what you're talking about. Afghanistan, right? That botched departure from Afghanistan. Say what we should have done is we should have prepared that better. During the pandemic period, let's say that we didn't get clinical trial data that proved that it worked against transmission in advance of recommending it and sacking mandated workers in New York that after it was mandated as a medication that wouldn't take it, 34,000 New York workers. There are other mistakes I made when I was working as an attorney in San Francisco. Like that is a golden opportunity. That is an opportunity to look presidential if you are presidential. But if you're not presidential, you are screwed because you're not willing to admit that you're weak and you're vulnerable and you're fallen. What a shame, man. What a shame. Like, what that should be is like, I feel now like I'm talking about one of my kids or something, like why my kids can't run for president. It's like, they're not ready yet. They're too little. They're too little. It's like, don't even ask them. It's not fair.
I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue.
But I am well versed on them, so it would be a mistake if I wasn't me. The mistake I've made, if anything, is I've not made any mistakes. I did make a mistake once, and that was when I thought I'd been wrong about something. But then I realized I had not made that mistake and that I've been unburdened by what might have been. Is that good?
Not and feel compelled to answer a question. So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
Oh no, what they've done, the Democrat Party, is they've gone from Weekend at Bernie's to Dave. Weekend at Bernie's was where they were just trying to prop up a dead guy as president, and now they've gone from Dave, where they essentially get an actor, the Kevin Kline movie, to pretend to be president. Could you just get out there? Look, it has to be you, because we chose you to be vice president for reasons that were actually unethical, superficial, literally superficial, and demonstrate where we're going as a movement. And now, oh no, Joe Biden is untenable, and we're going to have to make you work. God love you. I pray for Kamala Harris, I literally pray for her to be okay, because it's actually unfair what's happening to her. But here she is talking about the border wall and illegal immigration, another area where she could have been really open about mistakes.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall.
Another opportunity. Yeah, it was a mistake for me to criticize that wall and then to say we're going to build a wall.
So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it?
Now she's saying that he should have built the wall better and quicker, when the whole time that wall was being proposed, I remember then, because I was actually one of the people that was doing it, I was saying, you can't just build a wall, that's racist. I was one of the people that were saying, no, this is reductive. Now, the points of difference are disappearing. That was one of the reasons that Trump was being condemned. Now they're building that wall themselves. Oh man, this is not good.
In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million.
Now they're admitting that Obama was building a wall. Oh my God, what a disaster. This is worse than Biden's debate collapse. What? Because then there was Kamala. What are they going to do now? It goes, okay, try Tim Walz. Okay, get Tim Walz in. There's no business like show business. I was in a war once. I got a gun. I used to be a coach. Don't talk to any of the ex-students. Ah!
To continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it.
Oh no, too little, too late.
For it. People have to earn it.
Right.
And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense, because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
This is CNN. Anderson Cooper, a kind of dyed in the wool, albeit he looks like a baby mouse, Democrat. He's on her side. That's not like a tough adversarial opponent, even from a media space. Imagine if she had to contend with like Rush Limbaugh. No wonder she ain't on Joe Rogan. Like Trump's going on Joe Rogan right now. Like, and people are critical of Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan will ask intelligent questions and will look for points of difference. Remember after Joe Rogan was called out around ivermectin, how he got people on to offer counter narratives and stuff? Man, this is not good for them or for anyone really. Because, well, it's good in a way because it shows you that what passes for politics is in fact more like puppetry.
2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration
But if
is
it was
low.
that easy with that executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action.
And that's just old school politics there, blaming and lying. Actually, immigration is not bad. We've halved it. Lying. Blaming, it's because of Congress. It's because that's old school politics. All of us, even before the weird modern era of politics, with all of its bizarre talk of censorship and fake news and misinformation, that's old politics that we all know from like 70s and 80s in your country and in mine. The previous administration is to blame. In fact, if you look at these figures, you're not poor. If you look at these figures, gas prices aren't rocketing. Grocery prices are manageable. You're not terrified. There's not a BRICS conference going on right now. That is a person that is way out of their depth, that should never have been put in that position. That's plain. Nevertheless, the election will be a close run thing. Nevertheless, you got to confront the spectacle that you've got one presidential candidate who's going on Joe Rogan, where it will be like 3 hours, where you just got to sit there, like not sure if you're allowed to go for a pee or not, against another politician who, in the kind of gleaming, shimmering, refined, confined and constructed environment of a CNN town hall with old friendly baby mouse Anderson Cooper, can't cope with a simple question like, what mistakes have you made? Why didn't you amend the border issues in office when you had the executive power to do so? That's a person that's in serious trouble. The campaign is in serious trouble. That is an unpresidential person. And never in the history of your country have you elected an unpresidential person. Even if you look at oddities like, say, Jimmy Carter or George Bush Sr. Bush Sr. was Reagan legacy. Jimmy Carter had unique conditions culturally and politically that brought him about, and he was a one-term anomaly anyway. Never has anyone that peculiar risen to the office of Commander-in-Chief, and thank God for that. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and chat? If you're watching this on YouTube, turn on the notification bell. You know that the algorithm will guide you away. And become an Awaken Wonder, and you can join us for Break Bread with Russell Brand, where a live stream conversation with a Christian happens every single week. Last week, Tucker Carlson. This week, Ruslan. Soon, maybe Mel Gibson's coming on this show. We want every single person that's ever played Jesus or thought about Jesus on there, but I also want people that are way beyond that. Thanks for joining us. Remember, it's important to stay free.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.